Well, the NCAA tournament is out. Kentucky's draw is here. And if they're going to make a run in March Madness, it's going to be a very tough out for Mark Pope, Kentucky Wildcats.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of the show, we're going to be discussing Kentucky's draw in the NCAA tournament. That's right, it's out, and Santa Clara is Kentucky's first round matchup. This is probably the most difficult 10 seed Kentucky could have gotten. All things considered, it's a pretty tough draw, and the Cats are, if they want to make a run, going to have to pull off some miracles in the process. Also on today's episode, outside of just looking at the bracket, giving my thoughts on Santa Clara, we're also going to talk about Pope going radio silent on Selection Sunday, a day that's usually celebrated in Lexington. Kentucky opts to not do media. No press conference, no conversations, no anything. And I don't necessarily know if I like how Pope explained why Kentucky didn't say anything on Selection Sunday. We'll get into all that. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everybody out there, we're free and available on all platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, would love it if you subscribe to the show. And if you're listening on podcast, would also appreciate it if you subscribe there as well. As you can tell, not the usual setup today. We are currently in Dallas, Texas. I am helping with Amazon and Locked On's bracket breakdown show. It's been a blast. I've loved working with everybody here. It's been super fun to talk about the NCAA tournament, preview matchups, dive into stats, all that different stuff. You can find it over on Fire TV. Would really encourage you to check out the show. A lot of hard work went into it. And here we are as Kentucky fans, kind of behind the scenes a little bit, not really in the national conversation. Now, we did actually talk about Kentucky Santa Clara over on Bracket Breakdown, but we'll talk about it here a little bit more in depth because this is about as tough of a draw as Kentucky could have asked for. Maybe you could argue that UConn would be a much more difficult 2 seed than which 2 seed Kentucky might end up facing in the round of 32, and that's if they can get past the team that they are going to match up against in Santa Clara. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I actually already recorded this show just a little bit ago, and there were some audio issues, so hopefully this one goes just perfectly fine because, well, I wasn't particularly excited about Santa Clara in that video, and I'll go ahead and tell you again, if you're watching this on YouTube and you can see the reflection in my glasses of the Ken Palm page of Santa Clara, well, you may not necessarily like what you see because Santa Clara, the Broncos, out of the WCC, head coach Herb Sindick, actually a former Kentucky assistant, they boast a top 25 offense in the country. They boast a pretty solid resume considering, well, they didn't play a ton of really good teams, and some of the losses here were very close to teams like Gonzaga, St. Mary's. Basically, that actually makes up 4 of their 8 losses. They do have 1 or 2 bad losses here to Loyola, Chicago, and Arizona State. But overall, this has been a really, really good team that I think does all of the little things that cause Kentucky problems. They rebound very well. They're top 19 in offensive rebound percentage. They turn teams over. They're top 25 in a turnover rate. And then in terms of heist score, a little bit of a formula that I actually put together and I've been talking about a little bit over the last month or so. They are they're 6th in the country in heist score, which basically means they're one of the best teams in the country at controlling the possession game, something that Kentucky doesn't really do a very good job of. And whenever they go against these teams that want to punch you in the mouth and fight for every single possession, tooth and nail, they kind of fold. This has been a pretty mentally weak team. We'll actually get more in depth about kind of what Mark Pope has been saying about this squad, especially explaining why they didn't do any sort of appearance on Selection Sunday. An embarrassing thing for the Cats here, and it just further reflects just how poor of an example of what this program is, this current team is, unless, and look, they could win a title, but as it stands today, it's been a very underwhelming result, very disappointing season for UK, but this is a team that's going to stress Kentucky out. And we'll do a much more in-depth breakdown and analysis of like what this team is, but I'll go ahead and tell you, off the top, and I've been talking a lot with host of Locked On College Basketball and Locked On Gonzaga, Andy Patton, Locked On Zags host Andy Patton, saying, hey, look, they've got an NBA player, a future first-round pick coming off of their bench right now, a 6'9" freshman who does a little bit of everything. He grabs rebounds on both sides of the ball, or both ends of the floor, He doesn't turn the ball over. He blocks shots. He's 6th in the nation in steal percentage. He gets to the free throw line quite a bit relative to everybody else on this roster. It's a very poor free throw rate team, but he's actually the best player in terms of getting to the charity stripe. He's a 40% three-point shooter. He does a little bit of everything. He's athletic. He can pick and pop. He can play between the 4 and the 5. This is a player that's going to stress Malachi Moreno and Brandon Garrison. He's the big matchup problem. They also have a couple of really solid players in Elijah Mahi and Christian Hammond. Hammond shooting over 40% from 3. Jake Ensminger also shooting over 40% from beyond the arc. I mean, this is a team that can stripe it. They play with tempo. They shoot almost 33s a game. It kind of sounds like the way Kentucky wants to play, honestly. And defensively, they struggle as well. It reminds you a lot, I would argue, of last year's Kentucky team in a lot of different ways. They spread the ball around. They shoot the 3. They play with pace. They do everything to try and gain as many possessions as possible, and they won. They win today. They started the year off 105th in the nation in KenPom. They've now finished 35th nationally, again with Herb Sendek at the controls. This is a well-coached team. This is a deep team, one of the deeper teams in the WCC, one of the deeper teams in the nation. They've got a lot of really solid players. They've got a guy that's going to end up being a star coming off the bench. I mean, this is going to be a game that stresses Kentucky out. If they can find a way to win it, that would be awesome. They're favored by like 4.5 according to FanDuel right now, but this is going to be a tough out. It's going to be a very, very, very tough out. And if I were a Kentucky fan right now, I just wouldn't have a ton of confidence in like justifying why I'm going to win this game. Now, there are different ways that you could kind of spin it in your head and say, screw it, I'm going to believe in Kentucky no matter what, which is fine. You can do that. I did that for the SEC tournament, and we got 2 games out of it. So it was really awesome. But there are a lot of reasons to believe that this could end up either being a very tough matchup for the Cats or a game that they lose outright. So very tough to start. We'll obviously get into the rest of the region and the bracket here in just a little bit. Before we do that, though, I actually do want to tell you guys about our friends over at Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? But now you can put your sports IQ to work here in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets change the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. You're no longer just a spectator, play-by-play. You decide, trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Today's episode is also brought to you by Wayfair. Spring is the perfect time to refresh your space and make your home better for you. Whether it's updating a room, adding some outdoor furniture, or finally organizing that cluttered corner, it's a great chance to bring a fresh look into your home. That's where Wayfair comes in. From furniture to decor to organization solutions and outdoor essentials, Wayfair makes it easy to find the pieces that match your style and your budget. I really like shopping with Wayfair because the process is so extremely simple. I can filter by size, style, and price. I can find exactly what I'm looking for and what works for my space, what works for your space as well. Thousands of reviews to make it really easy to shop with confidence. You know what you're getting into pretty quickly, and the options like easy assembly or installation make the whole experience smooth from order to setup. Whether it's a new desk or a home office, some storage solutions or outdoor pieces for spring, it's easy to find something that fits both your style and your daily routine. Find furniture, decor, and essentials that fit your new unique style and budget. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Subscribe wherever you are tuned in here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You guys already make Kentucky, Locked On Kentucky, your team every day. You can take it up a notch here and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today. Subscribe and get Locked On Kentucky with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more for just $5 a month or $50 a year. You can go to lockedonkentucky.supercast to learn more. You can also use the promo code in the description to get a month free, and if you do that, you can join our bracket pool, and if you win, you can win some Locked On merch. Pretty sweet deal here. Again, the Everydayer Club. Check that out. Link is in the description. Okay, so Santa Clara is your first round matchup. Cool. Awesome. Pause for Gatorade here. Unfortunately, it's red, just like the Broncos. I'm worried about this game. This was the 10 seed after further review. I didn't get a chance to really dive into it detailed on the show because, well, we're in Dallas. But This is the matchup after further review that I didn't want on the 10 seed line. And unfortunately for Kentucky, they kind of got jobbed by the NCAA Tournament Committee because they also ended up putting Missouri and Texas A&M on the 10 seed line. They're like they weren't going to match Kentucky up with an SEC school. It's just not going to happen. So the options were either UCF, who ends up playing UCLA in the East region. UCF, by the way, technically being the weakest 10 seed. And then your other option is Santa Clara. And you're not going to match Kentucky up with the worst 10 seed because Kentucky actually is the best 7 seed. So Kentucky kind of got jobbed in a way here. It's okay. I mean, they were going to have a tough draw regardless. Not beating Florida kind of cemented their fate. It sealed their fate, rather, I should say, in this NCAA tournament. I've got my bracket right here if you want to go through the region with me. If you've already filled yours out, that's cool. You can also join the Locked On Kentucky Bracket Challenge. That's separate, by the way, from the Everydayer Club Bracket Challenge. We've got one here. Link is in the description for that. There's like 80 of you that have joined. Join up. Come on. We got to get more people in there. However, this region is about as tough of a draw as Kentucky could have asked. And it starts with the 1 seed Michigan. I mean, this is one of the best teams in the country. I got this team going to the Final Four. And then also the 8 seed. If Georgia finds a way to topple the Wolverines, that would be crazy. But I think Georgia could pose some problems. I mean, that's another team. In terms of possession games, in terms of high score, I think they have a very high floor in terms of competitiveness in this field. They also draw a pretty tough team in St. Louis with Robbie Avila. That's a very well coached team with a star who also, I mean, their margin of victory is just insane. I mean, they just pummel everybody that they beat. Texas Tech, very solid 5 seed, a lot of really good wins. However, a little inconsistent down the stretch. They play Akron, another team that's really, really good in the possession game. I actually have the Zips upsetting Texas Tech. I actually have them going to the Sweet 16 and also beating Alabama, who I expect to beat Hofstra. In case you didn't see all the news coming out with Aiden Holloway. Holloway has been arrested. That is Alabama's starting shooting guard, I believe. Arrested on possession of marijuana. In fact, it was quite a bit. It was over 100 pounds, I believe, right at 100 pounds, something ridiculous right like that. So I think that they may have some problems against a Zips team that has a really good backcourt and could cause both the Red Raiders and the Crimson Tide some problems if the Zips make it to the round of 32. Who knows? Maybe they get beat by 30 by Texas Tech, and I'm just wrong. I don't know. But Akron, I think, is a very good 12 seed. Speaking of the 11 seeds, the seed line above them, Miami, Ohio, playing SMU in the first 4. 31-1 Miami, Ohio, mind you. And then SMU with Boopy Miller. Those are 2 really good squads. They'd face off against Tennessee. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun to see Tennessee go down at the hands of SMU or Miami, Ohio. I actually have SMU advancing there. UVA, a very, 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 very underrated 3 seed. I think this is a very good, well-rounded squad. Ugonna Onyenso on this team had a really good ACC tournament. Ryan Odom, really good coach, formerly at UMBC. And obviously you've got Kentucky, you've got Santa Clara, Wright State on the 14 seed line, by the way. And then Iowa State is your 2 seed. Iowa State's your 2 seed in this region, the Midwest region. They'll be playing Tennessee State here to start things off. Iowa State, I'm not going to lie. I can't really rationalize why Kentucky's going to get past this team right now. Not at this time. I mean, I'm trying to be quiet in a hotel. It's way past 3 in the morning at this point. This is going to be a very, very, very tough out for the Wildcats. Just a tough region to get through, to fight through. It was going to be like this regardless. In case you have not seen the rest of the bracket, Duke, Arizona, Florida, the other 1 seeds, Purdue, Houston, UConn, the other 2 seeds, your 3 seeds, Illinois, Virginia, Gonzaga, Michigan State. And if you want to know my Final 4, I've got Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and Houston. My national championship is Duke and Arizona, and I've got the Blue Devils winning the national championship. Do I feel great about it? No. Would I like to take Kentucky to go on a run past where I have them going? Yeah. Yeah, I would. I'd like to take them past the Elite 8, frankly. So, the NCAA tournament we'll talk more in depth about. We'll talk more about the bracket, more about Kentucky's matchup with the Broncos of Santa Clara. But I do want to address some concerning comments from head coach Mark Pope explaining why Kentucky did not host a Selection Sunday media event. Just nothing. Radio silence from the Cats. First time in arguably in a very long time, and it might be forever, that they've not done this. It's unique. And I didn't really care for what Mark Pope had to say about it. Dive into the what's and whys in a second. Before we do it, though, tell you guys about our friends over at Game Time, because, guys, the biggest stretch of the college basketball season is here. Buzzer beaters, bracket busters, those unforgettable moments that everyone's talking about the next day. Actually being live for something like that, it's bucket list stuff. You want to get to the NCAA tournament if you're a Kentucky fan, and the hardest part is getting tickets every single time. Long queues, prices jumping around, surprise fees at checkout. The Game Time app, though, gives advantage back to fans with constant innovation. It's incredibly simple to use. Means Game Time guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. Here's the best part. The fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. No stress, no guesswork, just a smooth experience from start to finish. That's exactly what you want during the busiest part of the season. And you can take the guesswork out of buying your college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Today's episode is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. That's right, lock in. Because we've got the 5 Hour Energy flavor draft, 18 different flavors to choose from. We've got new options. Fruity Rainbow, Cotton Candy, Confetti Craze. I've had my pick solidified for quite a while now. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not moving off them. I got to pick first because I'm the host. Too bad, so sad you get to pick second. I'm picking Confetti Craze. There's not a better prospect in this draft. There's not a more well-rounded player, and there's some really good players from top to bottom in this draft class. But I'm taking Confetti Craze because here's the cool thing about Confetti Craze, and actually, honestly, all the different players that you could pull from here. 18 different flavors here in this draft. All of them. All of them give you that shot, that boost, that kick with zero sugar. That caffeinated kick, zero sugar. Now tell me, what other league are you going to find that kind of talent? You're not. You're simply not. So honestly, I think you might be set regardless of who you pick, but me personally, I'm going with Confetti Craze. The vanilla-y, cakey flavor punches you in the mouth. I'm not a huge fan of sweets, but darn it, that cake flavor is so good. It's so good. I love grape as well. 5 Hour Energy has a phenomenal grape flavor. I'm just a sucker for grape things in general. You got to try it. Guarantee it. You're going to love it. You can find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. All right, wrapping up today's episode of the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to get into the negatives. Let's go ahead and do the autopsy. When I recorded this initially, I was very harsh on Mark Pope and his comments after not doing anything on Selection Sunday. And he had to do his radio show on Monday, so he had to speak at some point. And he was asked, hey, man, why? And he said, well, with just everything this year. His direct quote, I kid you not, was, well, just with everything this year. You're always trying to read your team and kind of see where they are. A team is a really organic thing. It's a very artistic thing. I could not care less about the Mark Pope word salad. There. And even if that's what he believes, and I think there's some truth to what he has to say. Listen, a team is an organic thing. It, at times, can be a very artistic thing. Basketball, in its purest form, is art. It is an art form, in my opinion. I don't want to hear that from my coach after he doesn't appear for Selection Sunday to talk to the fan base that makes his life possible. He continued. Everything that our guys have done all season long, from the very beginning, we've opened up to everybody. Back to that in a second. There's really been no filters with our whole program, and just this one moment, I felt like it was really important that it was just our team, just the people in the locker room. It's actually the one moment this entire season where it's just been us, and it gave us an evening, a short evening actually, to have some very personal, private conversations, to take in the moment of what these guys have accomplished so far this year and what they've endured so far this year and what their hopes and aspirations and goals are coming for this NCAA tournament. We'll start there at the bottom. Do you know what their aspirations should be? To win the whole freaking thing. You know what your hopes and aspirations and goals are? Is to beat this living snot out of every single opponent that you see. You are out for blood if you are Kentucky. It does not matter what your seed line is. It doesn't matter how many players you have. Your mentality should be, we are going to kill everyone in our path. No one will stand up to us. We will lay waste to every single opposing fan base's hopes and dreams because we are the University of freaking Kentucky. That's what your hopes and dreams and goals are. We should set the edge. We should have the edge in the matchup. We should be the aggressor. We should be the one that brings the fight. But you know what we did this Sunday? We decided to run from the media. That's what it feels like to me. And you can say, well, we needed a moment to talk amongst ourselves. And you know what? Cool. And I hope the team had a very constructive conversation. And I really hope that they did lock in. And I really hope that it does help them on their run, that they had that moment to themselves. Do it on Saturday. You weren't there for the SEC tournament. You had the time. Do it on Monday. Do it on Monday. Do you realize what this fan base means? Do you realize what this fan base expects from you? Do you realize what the tradition here is? And you just casually throw it away? You could throw it away for a meeting that could have happened at literally any other time? And to sit here and tell us there's really been no filters with their whole program. Yeah, that's how your job works. That's how you get paid millions of dollars to have no filter. You get paid millions of dollars to be scrutinized, criticized, and under the public eye 24/7. You get paid millions of dollars to do it. And frankly, if I could get paid millions of dollars to do it, I would do it too. And I would take my pill and I would swallow it and I would say, thank you, Big Blue Nation. Thank you. But you're sitting here telling me, I just needed a moment to myself. Again, I won't get into the rant that I had in the previous recording. Do it on a different day. Do it at a different time. Do it later that evening. Do it later. What are the players doing at 9 o'clock on Sunday? Nothing. They're not doing. No. Do it then. Do it then. Have the moment. Have the moment between you and your locker room. And for him to say everything that our guys have done all season long, I'll just briefly touch on this. What have you done? What have you done? And I don't today, I don't want to hear any of the excuses of, well, they're hurt. Yeah, I know. Hey, guess what, guys? I've been watching too. I know. You know. Everyone knows. Everyone knows they're hurt at some really important positions. What have you done this year, though? You haven't done anything. You're 21-13. That's a failure. That's a failure here. So I don't want to hear any poor, pitiful me, especially not coming from kids who are making the money that they are on this roster. I don't care if it's $22 million. I don't care if it's $5 million. I don't care if it's $1 million delivered amongst this team. They're getting paid money, compensated to do a job. And if they can't step up to the plate and do the big boy talk and walk the big boy walk, they don't deserve to be here. Get out. Go home. Go back to the hills of Kentucky where you came from or transfer out. I don't care. Go home. If you can't step it up in Lexington, if you can't get the money and actually execute, you don't deserve to be here. If you can't take the scrutiny, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Because we're trying to cook here. And it's not just some average burger that you would get at an average burger joint. We are going for Michelin star quality every single freaking time we put on the apron. And the name on the front of the apron means something. It means something. And this is a bit of a slap in the face. There's been no filters. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of life. If you're going to do this, if this is your job, guess what, brother? That's your life. I understand it's just this one moment. And he goes on to say, I thought it was really important that we did this with just us. You know what? Okay. We don't do anything that way, but just this one time, I thought it was a big deal. We actually had a great night. It was a very meaningful night for our guys. I'm glad that they had a good time. I'm glad that they were able to connect, and I hope that it means something to them. Because at the end of the day, these are just college students, and this is a moment in their life that they will never, ever, ever be able to replicate again. So I hope that whatever happened in the meeting was constructive. But again, what have you accomplished up until this point? Why do you question what your expectations and aspirations are? You should know. At this point, you should know. These kids should know. The answer is, even if they don't mean it, the answer has to be coming out of your mouth. Number 9. What it has to be. Anything less is you don't deserve to be here. The conversation did not need to happen as Selection Sunday was happening. Again, I really do think that the meeting could have happened today, on Monday. It could have happened on Saturday to get this team rallied and ready to go. But to not talk to Big Blue Nation on their day. You could have had, if this was a, hey, we've not had a chance to talk all year by ourselves privately, why didn't you do it up until this point? If this is such a big deal, if it's such an inflection point for you right now, why didn't you do it before the SEC tournament? Why didn't you do it then? Why didn't you do it a day before? I don't get it. I don't get it. And I can appreciate the fact that he's saying this means a lot to us. I can really appreciate that. For him and his players and the kids. Yeah, cool. Awesome. I think for this fan base and this program, it's unacceptable. And it's another misstep for Pope. A long mile steps in the wrong direction this season. Honeymoon's over, baby. And you gotta put up or shut up. And this is one of those moments where you shut up in the wrong way. And to me, it hurts. That's going to do it for today's episode of the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can subscribe wherever you're watching. Would love it if you did so. NCAA Tournament's going to be weird. I think it's going to be where we're going to do a bracket preview. We are also going to do a more in-depth dive on Santa Clara. Been talking a lot with Andy Patton. We actually talked quite a bit about Santa Clara on the Bracket Breakdown show, so hopefully go check that out as well. You can follow me on Twitter at @LanceDawe_. Follow the show over on Twitter at Locked On UK. Follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials, and I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.